What up, YouTube? It's your boy Banks, and we back in the building, you feel me? It's True Talks, cause True Talks, all right? Let's get straight right into it. My goodness, man. So you already know, bruh. The Raptors have a lot of decisions to make. This is the one free agency, the one off season. This is not the big free agency, but it's a crucial one to set you up for the next one. That is the big one, or to set you up for what kind of future or what kind of, solid team you're going to have next year. Are you going to improve? Are you going to go back downhill? What are you going to do? Right. So this is basically one of those crucial times where it determines a lot of what's going to happen moving forward. Determines the look, determines what's kind of go on, for the future moving forward. So this is one of those crucial ones. It's not overly exaggerated as in hella important in the grand scheme of, who's free agents this year and who's free agents next year, as opposed to, same with the last year that just happened. It's not one of those big free agencies, but for the Raptors, based off of their roster makeup, who they have as free agents, the amount of people that might come off the books, they have a lot of decisions to make. So this is crucial in terms of the Raptors and one of their biggest, free agency off-season times that we've had in probably in a while, in a while. Because normally it's been like one or two guys that's been free agent and then you keep them or not. But like this is a big one. This is a big one. Obviously Kawhi was a big one too, but that was just one guy, right? So, and it was the one guy, right? So anyways, this one is multiple guys, right? Multiple champions, multiple guys who are crucial with winning that ring, right? The last year, not this year, but last year. So let's go right into it. Basically, I'm going to give y'all, it's going to be full circle and it's going to make more sense as I go throughout, this video and go throughout explaining what's going to happen, especially with what I think, not what's going to actually happen. I'll give, some type of, no, they probably won't do this. They might do this. I'll give those, assumptions and those things. But mainly I'm going to be giving from my perspective, what I think is IQ, my true reasons of what the Raptors should look forward to improving, what the Raptors should actually focus on, what their value is and what their actual, what they should focus on, what is actually more importance for what they need to move forward in order to get closer to making to the conference finals or finals. Remember, they were one game away from the conference finals. So we got to look from that lens, that perspective as what hindered them. What were the reasons why they didn't get to that almost promised land, get to that conference finals where now they're facing the Heat and it's an up and toss battle. We already know what was positive for them. Now we have to look at what the negatives are, right? And also you do have to look at the positives. So these decisions that you're going to make don't erase something that was a positive, right? So we got to look at that, everything in the grand scheme, and then now look at what we could actually do IQ wise moving forward in terms of free agency and just who to pick up, etc. This video, I will focus more on just the free agency. I'll do a part 2 for this video in terms of guys that could actually make sense to maybe trade for and who they might give up and etc. and all that type of stuff. I'll talk about a little bit here and there, but I'm mainly going to focus on just free agents who you could get, because this one is more of the people you just want to seek out for. And if you don't get him, then now you want to go into the trade situation, because why give up if I could just get guys for free? Not for free, but without giving up. I just give up money, not giving up money and giving up players. And now I'm in a worse predicament where, okay, now I got to fill this and fill this. Right now, you know what your core is. Now you just got to basically assess what I could add into this roster for, assuming I'm not able to do no trades. What I could get onto this roster with just free agent wise, what would make more sense, and what is actually, what is actually attainable, what is actually something that is realistic, instead of going for the guys like Brandon Ingram, who's a restricted free agent. You'll have to give him the whole bag, and 9 times out of 10, they're going to match that, right? Pelicans are going to match that. So he was their only all-star. They're definitely going to match that. So we want to look at the more realistic guys, maybe guys who are in player option, but also who fit play style with Pascal and the team, right? So I'm going to go into the nitty gritty and go into all of that IQ, because that's what I do. So stay tuned. You already know. Pay attention. It will make sense. So just work with me. Just try to understand the picture that I'm trying to paint. You know what I'm saying? And just think back to what was happening during the times that we failed, obviously, not going to the conference finals. So let's go right into it. So basically, I have a couple of, before we get into who's free agent and all that type of stuff, because a lot of y'all, obviously, this was a highly requested video, right? Obviously, we know what the Raptors had, the mistakes. So let's go to the main mistakes that the Raptors had, if you look at it. When the Raptors, again, team defense, first, before we go into team defense, coaching, A+. Nurse was even the reason why the Raptors were in a Game 7 situation. Obviously, Lowry's secondary, but Lowry's impact wouldn't have mattered if Nurse didn't fluster the Celtics by throwing that zone, which now gave Miami the blueprint to throw that zone in, right? And their zone worked even more because they put their weaker defenders at the back of the zone, Duncan Robinson, Dragic, and put Crowder and Butler aggressively at the top of the zone. So they still did the zone, but did it in a more aggressive fashion. That's why it was even less gaps, less penetrating. When you have Lowry and Van Fleet at the top of the zone, you know what I'm saying? There is odd situations where you fake the screen on to the outside and you set the inside version of the screen going to the middle. And let's say Van Fleet is not really reaching or whatever. And now Tatum could pull up. That didn't happen often, but there is situations like that where they're smaller, you know, backcourt defenders are at the front of the zone. It now creates some situations where you maybe if you had a bigger body, like when you have Butler or Crowder, them reaching, them contesting, or them just being there as a presence forces them not even to go that way, that direction, right? Little things like that. It does make the Miami zone a higher echelon a little bit in terms of versus the Raptors zone with Nurse, with Van Vliet and Lowry at the top. So now again, like I was saying before, Nurse was the reason why they even brought, because remember, we seen the Celtics thrive with the Sixers, and the Sixers were doing somewhat what the Clippers do, what also Boston Celtics do. Mainly, we guard you one-on-one. We put our best defenders, our lengthy defenders on you, right? They didn't have Simmons, but they still had Thibault, who is a great defender. You know what I'm saying? Not elite yet, but he's a solid to great defender, right? Solid to good defender. So when you have him there and he has length, he was supposed to give Tatum troubles, and Tatum was just eating. They're doing the pick and roll. Embiid is back. He's on the drop coverage. It's easy mid-range. And then he's downhill Euros, all that type of stuff. But when it came to the Raptors, they did a zone. And that was the first time you've seen the Celtics thrown off, which people didn't expect, which I didn't even expect, because I thought once you run a zone, just put Tatum at the free throw line and just drop it to him, turn around, jump shot. If not, off there, now you penetrate. Off there, now you have options, right? But they didn't do that so often. They didn't do that often. So now, again, Nurse was the reason that even kept them in this close game, because when he didn't run the zone often, like the first game one, and it was mono, guard up, you see what happened, blowout. Those games they struggled with, they didn't really run the zone as often or as much as they would have liked to. That's when they got blown out, and the Celtics had the only 2 blowouts in the series. Every other game was close. So again, Nurse was the reason why they're even in these games, in this situation, to get an OG shot or to get this and get that. Nurse is the game plan wise, the only reason. Because if Lowry's going to work and there was no zone, he's going to be offsetted by Tatum going to work off these pick and rolls, mid-range pull-ups. You know what I'm saying? Same with Brown, especially Kemba, right? And Kemba struggled with the zone because Kemba eats through the pick and roll. You drop, I pull. He eats through those ways, right? Zone threw him off. So again, Nurse was the reason. Now when we look at it so that's a positive for the Raptors. Now you look at it from the perspective of Lowry again was eating. That's another positive. Lowry was the heart and soul. Him and Van Vliet were basically the 2 guys who were cooking the most. Ibaka was also a big reason, right? Gasol was more so a negative. He had one game where he did good in situations where they needed ISO and they kept going to him in the post, and sometimes he was scoring. But most of the times he was a negative. He was dropping in the pick and roll. He wasn't playing good in the pick and roll like coverage. And that's why they also had to go zone. And then it would be like Ibaka. A lot of times they also put Pascal at the 5, right? And that's what they did. And it was mainly the zone. So like I said, it was Nurse, Van Fleet, Lowry, Van Fleet struggled, but he still did more than Pascal. Pascal was a negative, mainly. Pascal was a main negative. OG was a positive. Lowry was a positive, hella positive. And Van Fleet was neutral. Some games positive. Some games, even when he's a little bit negative, he'll have stretches where he shoots good and he becomes a positive, right? So he was like hybrid. But Pascal was a negative mainly throughout. Only a 1-2 little bit positive here and there, but he was a negative throughout the whole game, especially as your number one guy. So basically what you get from this situation, if Pascal did more damage, they would have probably mainly or might have, we don't know, but if you just look at it from just the outside looking in, Pascal gets a 1-2 couple more points, and if the series could have been different. Now, like I said, Pascal didn't do anything because he's in a number one option type of role. So you want to move forward for winning purposes in order to get back to the promised land. You want to put Pascal back into a number two option where he will thrive, where it's not pressure for him to score. It's not pressure for him not to score. It's just go do you. If you score, you score. If you don't, you don't. And that's how it was before. You're the number two option. Will go to you in situations. But if you're not eating, you could get it off cuts. You could go slide and get a rebound. When you're the number one option, you can't move off ball like that. And even when you're off ball, you're still a focal point. So when you put Pascal back into the number two option role, it changes the dynamics of the team. In order to do that, these are my main things, my main kind of concerns for the Raptors for this offseason to make them be like, okay, these are the things we have to address and the things we have to fix in order to basically get back to a situation where we're solid, right? So not solid, but championship aspirations. So you look at it. One, you get a go-to scorer, all right? You get a go-to scorer, whether it's through free agency or through trade. Preferably right now in this video, I'm just talking about through free agency. I'll talk about the guys who are option and viable options who are free agents this year, right? That you could kind of look to maybe add into this roster. And if you keep the same roster intact, you add that guy, you're basically conference finals bound, and you're back in that game 7 second round situation. You have a guy you could go to and who can now change. And it's not just going to, if that guy is known as a threat, other guys like Pascal, like I was saying, can eat in a secondary role situation that actually will probably do better production. You know what I'm saying? And you might not be in that tight, oh my God, game 7, Pascal Sussin, who do we go to situation? You're not going to be in that, as we've seen with Kawhi, right? That's clearly the blueprint. So go to score, something you want to go for. Now, again, you also have a lot of free agents for the Raptors. So you have Marc Gasol as a free agent. That's their main starting big. Serge Ibaka is a free agent. That's their second backup big. Van Fleet's a free agent. You have Stanley Johnson, free agent. Rondé's a free agent. Dewan Hernandez didn't really play, free agent. Chris Boucher, restricted free agent. So Raptors still have the rights. They just have to match. Malcolm Miller, free agent, restricted. Paul Watson, O'Shea Brissett. But their main free agents, Ibaka, Gasol, Van Fleet. Those are their main free agents. So 2 of your main bigs that played the big throughout are free agents. So you have to address, that's what part of my number one go-to is, go-to scorer / a versatile big. Whether that means you sign Ibaka or you sign Gasol, or you go get someone else to either be the starter or be the bench. We'll go into those details. I'm going to go into the details of all of these 4 within this video, right? Number 2, sign Ibaka or a big. If you can't sign Ibaka, then now you have to sign 2 bigs. If you can sign Ibaka, then now you can sign a secondary big and Ibaka gets upgraded to the starting big. You let Gasol go, right? For me, I'm looking at it as I only sign Gasol if it's going to be for hella pinch. If I'm signing Gasol and he wants like a 10-year, 8-year, 5, something like that, I don't know if I sign Gasol. His defense is solid, but in this new NBA, especially coming with like KD's coming back and all these other guys, Gasol would be like, if you're going to face Embiid in them, Gasol's going to obviously be important. But other than Embiid in them, any other team doesn't really have a inside dominant big like that. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I kind of, are you really do you get destroyed if Embiid is going to work like that? You know what I'm saying? Like, and he might go to work more often and their offense might change with Doc Rivers coming in, right? So it's like, Do I sign him? I would sign Gasol as an option to play him in that scenario. Because again, you want to have a roster that covers all scenarios. That's one of the benefits of the Lakers also this year. They had Dwight, they had JaVale, they had Markieff and AD. Those are like, you could go hella small with Markieff when AD's resting and him play the 5, 6'9", can stretch. Or you can go obviously with AD, versatile big, inside, outside, dominant all sides, 6'9", 6'10", could also stretch. Then you could go, if you have other guys who are bullying like a Jokic or whatever, we put in Dwight, we put in JaVale, right? So you have options. So I, just for that alone, would gear towards, I didn't think of this before having the video, but I would gear towards signing Gasol only if it's pinch. If it's not pinch and if it's a lot, I'm probably not going to do it. And only way let me rethink that. If he wants, let's say 8 mils, something like where it's like, oh my goodness, I'm doing a 1 year. I'm doing a 1 year. If he wants more than a 1 year, we have to part ways. If he wants more than what I want to give him for the 1 year, we have to part ways. So the only ways I sign Gasol, because again, I'm only signing him for one type of situation. I'm not signing him. I'm not signing Gasol to be my starter and repeat what we did last year. No, I'm not doing that. Only way I do that is if I can't get no other free agent. So that, again, Gasol is basically the last resort option for me. So let me go through my video with what I want to go for moving forward, as opposed to in terms of my options and what ideally I want. This is just an ideal situation if I'm the Raptors, okay? So again, ideal situation is letting go of Gasol, and we try and sign Ibaka or another big to replace Gasol, or to replace Ibaka's role, and Ibaka replaces Gasol, right? And starts. So that's what we go for number 2. Number 3, we want to keep Lowry, or I only trade him if it's a must. I want to keep Lowry, right? I only trade him if it's a must. The reason why for that, people, because a lot of people are trying to think of, trade Lowry, he would be an option for other people because he's a 1 year and done contract. It's going to free them off the books and all that type of stuff, and this and that and the third. But for me, I'm looking at it like, Lowry has proven himself off this postseason, which again becomes a trade value, and you don't want to lose him for nothing. But I have to look at it from my perspective. Me trading Lowry for the Raptors, obviously you don't want to lose him for nothing, but this is a situation where it's better to lose him for nothing as opposed to trade him for something, and then that susses you for next year's free agency, because you're going to have people on the books who's going to affect how much money you have contractually, you know what I'm saying, and how much money you have that's open to give out to somebody. Because you got to remember, Pascal's money kicks in this season coming up, right? His 4-year contract, which is the big money. If I was to sign Van Fleet, right, now he's going to also be kicked in on the books, right? So me trading Lowry, but then I'm taking up younger talent or whatever, I'm getting all this good talent, they're now going to be on the books. Know how much people are free agents next year. We got Giannis, we got Kawhi, we got PG, we got a lot of these guys who are free agents next year. Not even to mention other people, right? So I want to be in a position where I can at least be like, I could offer you the most right now, and we have a winning team. Come here, boy. Right? I want to be in those talks. So me keeping Lowry higher my chances for being in those talks, because now if I keep Lowry, I can maybe sign a Van Fleet or sign somebody, sign some of these bigs and give them decent money for shorter terms, because now Lowry's off the books next year. That's whole 30 mil, as opposed to signing him and just redirecting the 30 mil with other contracts. It might, even if it's smaller contracts, 5, it adds up, right? So I would ideally keep Lowry. That way, if he does leave and walk for nothing next year, his money is still off the books next year going into free agency. All right. So that's just my logic into keeping Lowry, and it's a plus because he also is crucial on the court. So, keeping him would make sense too. Only trade him if it's a must. When I mean a must, I mean you lose Ibaka. You also lose Van Fleet. Now it's like, God damn, I need pieces. You know what I mean? So you bringing those people aren't going to matter as much on the books wise, because you've lost all of these other guys off the books. So it's just going to redirect it, right? So it would even be more of a plus. So that's also an ideal situation. If you were to lose everybody and you trade Lowry and get good talent, now you sign the bare minimal people. You have replaced those people with money wise, right? Just from a business GM perspective. But again, ideally, I keep Lowry if I'm able to sign these other guys that I have in my free agent kind of or off season kind of, high main points to kind of address. All right. Last but not least, we have Van Fleet. We signed Van Fleet. Van Fleet, for me, he's elite and I would want to keep him. Not elite, but you know what I mean? Elite for the Raptors team in terms of who was doing what. Lowry and Van Fleet were the dynamic duo when it mattered. They were the ones doing the most production scoring-wise, assist-wise, all of that. They were the main guys when it mattered. Getting the bucket-wise, which is not doesn't even have to go to the stat sheet. But getting a bucket, who do we go to? Whether you scored or not, the fact that you were that option, you weren't the one nervous, we all felt comfortable to just give it to you and we didn't say nothing, that matters. That matters. It's not just about the scoring. So it's not just about who got the bucket. It's just about who do you trust in that moment. Who do you go to when you needed a bucket? It was always Van Fleet and Lowry that they kept going to. They try and screen, nothing worked. It has to be them to create. And whether sometimes it was air ball, sometimes it didn't work, whatever. But the fact that they had to be the ones to take on that, have the big, the cojones and take that on, that's what matters. Because Pascal wasn't doing it. So again, he's crucial and him and Lowry were the most crucial guys on the team. Right? So now, I would want to sign Van Fleet, but it's dependent on factors happening, situations happening. So if I'm not able to get a go-to scorer, right, then I maybe sign Van Fleet. If I'm not able to get a versatile big. So in order for me to sign Van Fleet, I don't get a versatile big and I don't get a go-to scorer. If I don't get those two things, then I sign Van Fleet and lock him in and we just roll with the punches, right? We just roll with the punches and our guard play will be the same. And now I can now sign a role playing big to go and try if I sign Ibaka and then have a role playing big to back up Ibaka. You know what I mean? So it depends on what happens. If I'm able to sign a go-to scorer and he now can play the two, okay, Van Fleet, you might have to go, right? Depends on what I do free agent wise, trade wise, before I just go and run and sign Van Fleet. So that's my logic for the Raptors entering this postseason and things they need to address. So how you would address it, right? And the things you would look at to do. Man. So basically, let's go through the free agents this offseason right now. And you'll hear names that I'm gonna focus on names, but I'm just gonna name people who kind of like might, can intrigue you. Y'all let me know in the comment section who you think makes sense, but I'm going to go into who I think makes sense in terms of the needs, right? People do think Van Fleet should just go because they want bigger backcourt, but the bigger backcourt mattered, but didn't really matter in terms of why they really lost. They really lost because they had nobody to go to down the stretch. Even with that small backcourt, remember, Nurse is going to coach you with good defensive schemes and he's going to use IQ, so you're always going to be in position. That's what this offseason has told you. With Nurse, you're always going to be in position. But to get over the hump, you need that scorer, not necessarily a taller backcourt guy, because you'll be in the same position. Even with a taller backcourt guy, you'll be in the same position. You need a go-to scorer. All right? So that's the number one blinking need that needs to be addressed. Again, Anthony Davis is a free agent. You're not getting him. Brandon Ingram, free agent. You're not getting him. He's a restricted, like I said before. Demar Derozan. People are saying bring back Demar Derozan. He's one of the top. He's a third highest scoring points per game free agent from last season. That's going to be a free agent right now, right? The highest points per game was Anthony Davis, then Brandon Ingram, then Demar Derozan. Demar Derozan, like again, I said I don't want to bring him back because we know it didn't work with you and you were the reason, right? He was the reason because as a star, he's been in these situations to get over the hump and he didn't do what Kawhi did because he's not that superstar type of player. He's more so what Pascal is, a number 2 option, and he's a side to the main. Whether he's the number 2 option or he's a 1B, that's dependent on him and his play or whatever he decides to do. But he is the sidekick. He's not the main guy, right? So you now bringing DeRozan again, he's going to have to be the number one guy. And you're going to have two palm sweaty guys, Pascal and DeMar. Pascal will probably do more than what he did this season because he's in a number two option again. But I'm not rolling with that. I think you're going to exit same ways if you have those two guys. I think DeRozan and Pascal would have to flip. The only way I sign DeRozan is if I'm getting rid of Pascal and DeRozan will replace my Pascal. We've seen Pascal win as a number two, so I'm not moving from that. It works. It works. So I'm not going to move from that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not in this situation. I'm not signing DeRozan. People have their other reasons why. I just know when it comes down to it, we know what he does. Sorry, we know what he doesn't do. And we know what he does. So I'm not rolling with that. De'Aaron Fox is a team option. He's not going to be available, obviously. Danilo Gallinari. So I'm just going to name the names. I'm going to go through guys. Danilo Gallinari is someone you would want to think of. He's going to be a free agent, right? He's going to be a free agent. He's someone who could be a go-to scorer, but he's injury prone. And his way he's a go-to scorer isn't really that closer guy. You know what I'm saying? If I'm limited and that's the only guy I have to go with, I would sign him. You know what I'm saying? And maybe give him a 1 or 2 year deal so I could be free. But, is he really that bucket getter? He gets buckets, but is he really that mano get a bucket for 5 straight plays guy? Not in my eyes, but he can get a bucket. He could be like a secondary scorer. But we already have that in Pascal. But he would be a guy who's an option. But for this number one option role, if I have to, I would, but that's not my first choice. We go to Harrow. That's another option. I'm just going to name names that make sense. Fournier is a player option. That's not really what fit. People are talking about Drummond. He's a player option. But again, I'm not looking for bigs. Even there's guys like Whiteside, who's a free agent, Drummond. I'm not looking for inside bigs. It doesn't work well with Pascal. Pascal has thrived. He hasn't played with an inside big. Gasol has spotted up and been on the outside. He goes inside when Pascal's not there. When Pascal, he doesn't just sit there. Sometimes they go there, but they have a threat of being outside, which helps Pascal's game. Pascal already, you've seen him struggle with the outside. He needs the inside. So I'm going to bring a big that's just sitting, that can only do anything in the inside. It's not just, people don't understand. There has been times Gasol and Ibaka have been in the paint and clogging or whatever. But the point is, they don't only do that. There is going to be situations where there's bad space and you end up it's basketball. You know what I'm saying? There's going to be situations like that. But the point is, if you only could do that, even if you're on the outside setting screens, that nigga's not guarding you out there. It means the defender is always going to be in the paint. Pascal, Ibaka and Gasol, yes, they set spacing at times, whatever. But when they're on the outside, their player isn't sitting in the paint. Their player is spaced out to the outside because they're a threat. It's about being a threat. That's what it's about. That's what spacing means. It doesn't mean you're always just spaced all the time. That obviously is ideally what you want. But spacing just means threat ability. It means threat. You could provide spacing. There's going to be times there's no spacing, but you could provide spacing. That's what it means. So Drummond does not provide spacing. Hassan Whiteside does not provide spacing. That automatically means Pascal has to just be shooting. You know what I'm saying? No, that doesn't work. I'm not going for no inside big. Just IQ wise, it's not going to work. All right. Especially for a guy who might still be your number one option. That's counterproductive. All right. That's just automatically clashing of play style. Gordon Hayward is player option. That's bare money. You expect him to I'm going to get that bag, especially me being injured. I'm taking that bag. I'm signing it. Marcus Morris is an option. He could be a go-to. He could be a go-to scorer as a guy as their number one. No, but if you have to, it's not bad. You know what I'm saying? It's not a bad option. A mix and match between him and Lowry. At least Lowry could get times where he's like, okay, they're not focused on me and he could, you know what I mean? I might think about that. Gallinari and Marcus Morris, I might think about that if I have no other ideal number one option guy. So those are options. Goran Dragic is a guy, if I was to lose Van Fleet, I might maybe sign Goran. You know what I'm saying? But I don't think the Heat will let him go. Tim Hardaway's player option, 17 mil. He's definitely signing that. Hassan Whiteside, like I said, I'm not going for. Bertans is a guy. Davis Bertans is a guy from Washington. Space the floor, stretch power forward, small forward type of guy. I would sign him. But he's just gonna space the floor. Already have guys who space the floor. He's not. If you're all the guys that you want get off the books and you have to sign somebody, I would sign him, but that's a guy that's going to be looking for the bag and is going to, like, you know what I mean? It's not a need. You need a score, right? Carmelo Anthony is a highlight. That's a guy that I want to sign. He's one of my, I'm bold in that. I'm going to try and give him a 1-year bag because we already know Portland's not giving him a 1-year bag. So he found a home in Portland, but you can maybe, you know, pass. Melo wants to, I can still get a bucket at that time. I'm sacrificing because obviously Dame and CJ, they're those guys. But I still have it in me. So if you tease him with, you could be that go-to scorer. If you're surrounded by defense, you're surrounded by all these guys, you could be that go-to scorer, get a bucket guy. When we call your number, start him at the 3, put OG to the 2, and we're just bigger. Maybe then you let VanVleet go because you still have Norm off the bench. You know what I'm saying? You still have Davis off the bench. People are forgetting that. So signing VanVleet is a necessity for if you don't get nobody. But if you get somebody that addresses your number one needs, we could actually replace, like, you can't really replace what VanVleet does, but you can. If your go-to scorer is fixed, then now Pascal will be a number 2. He's going to provide more option. He's going to provide more production, all that type of stuff within that role. You know what I mean? Lowry now doesn't have to always go to be the scorer. Like, you could do that run around stuff more often because they're going to focus on Melo at times. So Melo is a guy that I'm looking to try and get. He fits my number 1 option need. Okay. Another guy under him, you have Jordan Clarkson. I'm just going to name names. Jordan Clarkson. I'm definitely thinking about Bogdanovich. He's restricted. That's from Sacramento. I don't know if they're going to let him go. Joe Harris is a free agent. Alec Burks is a free agent. That's a good option too, but not mainly number 1. Joe Harris is a guy who's good, but I think the Nets will keep him. And even then, he's a spot up shooter, Clay type of guy. Like, that wasn't the issue. So I'm not seeking him, especially given the context that next year's free agency. You don't want to seek unnecessary, additions and then tie them in that now it susses you next year. The only necessary one is the number 1 scorer. All right. Marvin, who else? Jabari Parker. He's a player option. I don't expect him to release that because it's $6.5 million. I don't expect him to release that. But Jabari Parker is another guy that if he's in a different situation, that's different context. People will be like, Banks, what are you talking about? If he's in a different situation, he can get you buckets. But I'm not going for him for my number 1 in this situation. All right. Let's keep going. There's Dion Waiters, you know what I mean? There's guys, but, there's Jay Crowder. There's a lot of guys down the line, you know what I mean? But Nerlens Noel, again, he's inside big. You got Cauley Stein, inside big player option. There's a lot of guys down the line that are free agents, all right? So I'm unlimited now to basically my key guys that I would look for, all right? So these are the guys who are viable options. Like I said, viable options. All right. Go to score wise. DeMar DeRozan. I don't want to get him, like I said, but if you have to, I could see the Raptors taking him. Like I've always said, I don't want to, but I could see the Raptors taking him because on their eyes, they're looking at it as, we just need a score. We need a score. DeMar DeRozan score, get him. They're not looking at the number 1 option. They're not looking at the things he didn't do. They're not looking at that factor. They're just looking at we need scoring mono-y-mono. DeRozan's game is mono-y-mono scoring. But when it matters, he's not that. But his game in grand scheme of overall season and all that type of stuff, every game, you know what I mean? That's his play style. So I could see why GM-wise they'll be like, just go get him. He's player option, but I expect him to opt out. I don't expect him to stay with it. Gallinari, like I said, is a guy I gave my reasons for him. I'm just going for number 1 scorer as well. We'll talk about versatile big and bigs after. All right. Number 1 scorer wise, we have Marcus Morris. Again, Marcus Morris, Gallinari in that same type of boat. Right. If I have to, I would, but it's not like my ideal. All right. Again, then you got Carmelo is my ideal. If I'm the Raptors, that's my ideal. Another ideal for me is Jordan Clarkson is ideal. So Jordan Clarkson has proven he can be a go-to scorer. He has been in limited situations, so his go-to scorer still is kind of like a bench 6-man role. But Jordan Clarkson, if I was to get a Jordan Clarkson, that guy could get me a bucket. I'm telling you. If he's given the situation, that guy can be a go-to in that situation, kind of like a Lou Will. Lou Will isn't like a go-to, oh my God, That's like what I go through the whole time. So Pascal will still be in the number one option role, right? But in the clutch, Jordan Clarkson can become your go-to. That's sort of what Lou Will was, right? Not this last year, but what he was before. Like, he wasn't like you give him the ball every single play. He was off the bench. Now he becomes the go-to. And then in the clutch, now he becomes the go-to. I wouldn't put Clarkson off the bench. What I would do is I would start Jordan, and he would be my go-to guy in certain situations, clock dying, we need a bucket, momentum, all that time. I would go to Clarkson and he would get me a bucket, and he can. Like, he's actually that nice. Like, don't get it twisted. Don't let media fool you. Don't let him playing in limited situations fool you. I promise you, if he's given the green light, you'll really see him get 20 points per game easily. But if I get Jordan, now that goes to my number 4, I might let go of Van Vliet. If I could sign Jordan to maybe a 2-year solid deal, you know what I'm saying? Even if it's a 1 year, but a 2-year solid deal, 3 years at max, I'll probably do 2 years. I can now, Van Vliet might have to go because you still have Norm. Like I said, you still have Davis, right? And then that's basically like, that's a great starting lineup. You keep Lowry, you have Clarkson, you have OG, you have Pascal, and I'm going to try and sign a Ibaka or not have another big. That's still a solid starting lineup, and that would be more so of an upgrade for what you need, right? And for what you need. You will lose Van Vliet, so a lot of that penetration, that, solid, composed, player, get a bucket sometimes off the screen, shoot threes, all of that might be lost. But Jordan Clarkson can replace that and do more when it matters, and is a bigger body. Defense, you might suffer a little bit, but there's so much. You have a great defensive coach, and you have so much solid defenders around you. It's not going to affect that much. Certain situations it might matter, but grand scheme, it won't affect that much. And he will be inspired to play better defense when he sees the accountability and the team defense surrounded by him, and he's getting the ball all the time. He's going to improve his defense. He's going to have more desire. All right. So that's an option that I'm looking for. So Carmelo, Jordan Clarkson, those are 2 number 1 options in free agency that I could just attack right now and sign. You know what I'm saying? Or try and sign. It's up to them, obviously, if they want to do it or not, but I'm going to be aggressively trying to do those. Another one is Dion Waiters. People haven't talked about it. Dion Waiters, like I've said, he's just been sitting, been chilling. Obviously, he's injured. I don't really think he's OD injured like that, but he's just been chilling. I definitely will go for him. He's a guy I will give him a 1-year deal because he has to redeem himself. So he's going to look, if you get a solid bag off a 1-year deal, he probably would do it because he wants to be in a situation where he wants to thrive. That's what he wants to be, and redeem himself in that situation. That is a guy who can get a buck, and he could be a number 1 option. He actually can. So he's more so along the Jordan Clarkson lines, but a better, a more proven, bigger body. Actually, no, I'll say they're more similar. It's just Jordan Clarkson has been limited situation. Dion Waiters has had a situation where he's done more and been a starter. So that's why people would think he's better than Jordan Clarkson. But they're in the same boat, right? Get a bucket, carry, all that type of stuff like that. Like, that's solid. Again, defense, they might suffer. But if I get those 2 guys, that's why my sign Van Vliet at number 4, I might leave. He might have to just go, and we just, you did good, Van Vliet. I would want to sign you, but it's just about the need and the team. Like, you just part ways. You know what I'm saying? And it's obviously sad to see Van Vliet go. But if I was to get those 2 guys for what we need, Van Vliet doesn't provide what you need. He's not that number 1 go-to scorer. He's like a solid starting point guard. He's not even a bench point guard. He's a solid starting point guard that can get you a bucket, facilitate, but go-to when you need. He can in certain situations. If you have a go-to scorer alongside of him, while they pay attention to him, now he can be that guy. But if you don't have that guy, he can't be that guy. We've seen that, right? So I would have to let Van Vliet go and sign those guys, right? Again, another one option that I'm looking at, Michael Beasley. People are thinking, yo, Banks, Michael Beasley. I'm telling you, man, if Michael Beasley's in that role that he wants, I'm telling you, y'all are in for a rude awakening. Now, I don't think Raptors would ever gamble for that. I'm just saying, if it was me, I'm going for him. And I'm gonna have a bigger lineup because I'm gonna put Beasley at the 3. I'm gonna put OG at the 2. You know what I'm saying? And he could just be the primary lockup defender, OG. And I'm having Beasley just get buckets, man. get buckets. We need to go to get buckets, and Pascal's going to thrive more because that guy's going to just be getting buckets. And if he's struggling, then we just, we do what we always been doing, right? So I'm telling you, those, like, I'm looking for the unguardable number one option. That's what you need to replace a Kawhi, because we've seen what the blueprint is. I'm trying to follow that blueprint. Obviously, they can't replace Kawhi to Kawhi, but they can score with the Kawhi. I'm telling you, man. So anyways, those are my options. I'm looking for a number one go-to score option. The chances that the Raptors have IQ and do that, I don't think they're going to do that. The only one they might go to is DeRozan. But this is just me IQ wise. This is what we need. Now, if I can't get that, and sorry, this might be a longer video because I'm just trying to attack a lot of things and give IQ. This has been a long awaited video, so we're just going to roll with it. But if I can attack that and get that go-to score that I would want to get, I'm definitely going for a versatile big, right? When I mean versatile big, I'm more so of a Gasol. Maybe might not defend like Gasol, but I could shoot. I could eat in the paint. I am just versatile. I could do it all, which is always what Pascal needs as a big. He doesn't thrive or will do well with a one-dimensional big. He needs a versatile big. I can go in, I could go out. I could go in, I could go out. And this is something that a lot of people aren't talking about. But if I can't get a go-to scorer, or if I can get a go-to scorer, I'm looking to get this guy on, again, a 1-year deal, Demarcus Cousins. I'm looking to get me a Demarcus. If I'm the Raptors, like, Gasol, you did good for us. Good riddance. Again, we know Cousins doesn't have the greatest defense, but if I get Cousins as a versatile big, he can be my number one option. So now I don't need to get a go-to scorer. I could keep him as my number one option, and I could actually re-sign Van Vliet now. And we have this, everything that we did is the same. We just replaced Gasol with a Cousins. That is another road and a path that you could go through. Right? Cousins on a 1-year deal. He has to redeem himself in his eyes. He's been injured, yes, but he's looking, if you've seen that video, he's looking like he's in shape. He just has to get back in good shape or whatever, like game, fatigue, movement shape. Real game shape, but he's looking good, looking clean, still punching. You know what I'm saying? He's still looking solid. And that will free up Pascal number one option wise at times. You could dump it down to him, get me a bucket, break chest. What Gasol wasn't doing, that guy Cousins will eat. I'm telling you. He might sus defensively. So at times, if you have to, you know what I mean? You could just cross match. You could just put Cousins on, like, I don't know, you can run a zone, or there's ways to hide him. Like, you don't put him in the pick and roll. They're obviously going to try and just put him in the pick and roll every single time. Then if he's sussing OD like that, that's why you get another big, like you have Ibaka again. Ibaka is you still sign Ibaka. Ibaka's still there. I would start Cousins and I would let Ibaka just play the exact same role. Gasol is, remember when Gasol was sussing, play Ibaka. When Cousins is sussing, play Ibaka. And we've seen what Ibaka could do. So Ibaka Cousins tandem is a great tandem again. Do the same shit was working. That's my whole thing. You know what your blueprint for championship ring was. You keep that same blueprint. Either you get a scorer, you elevate Ibaka to the 5, and then you get Ibaka type of player as a backup. If that has to be Hero, then you do Hero. He can't shoot like that. He actually can shoot, and I would empower him to shoot. He can shoot. He just hasn't been. So I would empower Hero to be a more aggressive Ibaka. That's what I would empower him to be. And I'm telling you, he would thrive in that. So that's one of my options. I would either keep that same blueprint. I maybe let go of Van Vliet, get a go-to scorer, sign Ibaka, right? Get a go-to scorer, like I said, and maybe get a Melo, a Dion Waiters. These are guys you could all do 1 year. So you'll still be able to get be eligible for free agency next year, right? For all the big names, because you're going to be freedom off the books next year as well. I would sign Melo to a 1 year if I can. If not, I would sign Dion Waiters to a 1 year if I can. If not, maybe a Jordan Clarkson or a Michael Beasley, something like that. Go-to scorer as a 1 year. Let go of Van Vliet. Let him go. You get what I'm saying? Maybe he goes to the Knicks and get his multi-year, get his bag because he's got his ring. Now he needs the bag. He needs to eat. So Van Vliet is not going to sacrifice again, right? He bet on himself for a reason. This is his time to eat. He's a high commodity. Eat. So I most just off that alone, Raptors might part ways because I don't want to contractually be stuck to VanVleet and suss myself next year. Only way I do that is if I can't get these guys. Then I'll be like, okay, VanVleet come through. But like I said, I'm going to get one of those scores like I mentioned, or at worst, you get maybe a Gallinari, even if it's a DeMar DeRozan. I wouldn't want that, but if I have to, I would do that. A Gallinari or Marcus Moore, some type of go-to scorer. They don't even have to be number one at all times. They just have to be in the clutch. They can get a bucket and they become the number one in that point. Just someone who can get buckets with no limitations and with no screen. You know what I mean? That's what matters in the playoffs. And those guys are the guys I will look to. If I get that, then I sign Ibaka, give him his bag. Maybe if it's a 2-year bag or a 1-year bag, I will give him just a bag because it's 1 year. It's going to free up. I will probably give him a 1-year bag too. And then that way he elevates to the starting center and he will be amped because he'll be the starting center. Then you get a backup. I'll try and get Harrell. Even if I have to give him a couple years, give him the bag for a couple years, I might do that because Ibaka will free off the books, right? So obviously it's business-wise. You look at how you facilitate that. But I'm just looking at roster-wise, right? I upgrade Ibaka, get a Harrell. If I can't upgrade Ibaka, right? So if I get a go-to scorer, upgrade Ibaka, get a Harrell, and that's my two center tandem. Obviously, I would still try and keep Boucher and stuff like that as an option if, you know what I mean, a third big or whatever. But people looking at all these inside type of bigs, I'm not looking to do. It's not going to work well with Pascal. I'm telling you guys from now. If I sign Harrell, he has to be like Ibaka. Shoot more. He can shoot. None of this only inside. None of that. You implement Ibaka's game is what you're going to do at a higher level because he can now dribble and blow by whatever. Like, go into your bag fully. If I sign a Harrell with the Raptors, you're not doing that Clipper shit where you just pick and roll. No. Pick roll, pick pop. Space out, attack. You do it all. Versatility. That's what we're doing. All right. And remember too, Pascal's also an option to play big. So you technically would have 4 bigs. All right. If you keep Boucher, you sign Ibaka, elevate him, put Harrell in that same 6-man position, but at a higher tier because he might even end games dependent. You don't know, but I would keep him in that same position and give him the bag for that. And then we roll with that. If I can't do that, I'm definitely going to sign a number 1 option. Like I said, sign a number 1 option. And when I sign the number 1 option, I now have the ability, like I said, sign either a Gallinari, a DeRozan, Marcus Morris, a Carmelo, a Clarkson, a Dion Waiters, or a Beasley. One of them. However one you choose, that's up to you. For me, I preferably would choose a Carmelo, a Clarkson, or a Dion Waiters. Those are the 3 I would choose, and Beasley 4. Those are the 4 I would choose. The other ones are my fallback for number 1 score clutch option. They're my fallbacks. But those guys are my priorities I would try and look at if I'm the Raptors. And once I get that, then I go for a Cousins for a 1-year deal. So I signed that. I signed those guys, one of those guys on a 1-year deal and sign Cousins on a 1-year deal. That way I'm going to have a starting line. I will let VanVleet go. That way I would still have Lowry who's there. He's also on a 1-year deal basically. So I have a lot of 1-year deals that I'm open up for next year. The only one I'm attached to is basically Pascal. So I would have a starting lineup of Lowry. I would have, if I get Melo or I get Beasley, I have OG at the 2, which will be a bigger lineup and he'll be the primary defender. Then I will have Melo or Beasley, right? Melo or Beasley at the 3. Then I will have Pascal at the 4. And I would try and sign Cousins at my 5. And then Ibaka play the same role and he replaces Cousins. They interchange. And if whoever's playing better, maybe Ibaka's playing better defense, he ends the game. It don't matter. But that's what I would do. You know what I'm saying? That's what I would do. Or I don't have to. I'm just giving you my routes. If I signed a number 1 score, I don't even have to get Cousins. I can keep Ibaka at the 5. And then I will get Harrell and we go like that. Those are the 2 options you could do. Right? The way that I say you guaranteed go for Cousins is if you're not able to get no other scorer, I would just have to sign VanVleet. And if I'm signing VanVleet, I'm signing Cousins to a 1-year deal. Because I'm keeping the exact same team. You know what I'm saying? And then I'm just going to have Cousins replace Gasol. That's what I'm going to do. So Gasol is more of the priority if I don't get a go-to scorer. So do you see the picture I'm trying to paint? Some of y'all might not understand what I'm saying. I know it kind of like is kind of like, you know, all over the place, but there's different routes. So again, let me repeat one last time so y'all understand what I'm saying. I'm basically signing. This is the 3 routes I'm taking. There's 3 routes, okay? I sign a scorer, like I've said, the ones I mentioned to you. If I sign that scorer, if I'm the Raptors, I sign that scorer. I don't necessarily have to sign Cousins for the big. I can sign Ibaka 100%, elevate him, and then sign a backup big. Whether it's Harrow, whether it's you know, maybe even if it's a Jahlil Okafor, you know, somebody that could do. I don't want to sign Hassan Whiteside or any. I want to sign a versatile big. You know what I'm saying? So even if it has to be, if I have to sign Nerlens Noel or something like that, which most likely he's not going to sign, I want to sign a versatile big. So my ideal would be Harrow. I would sign Ibaka and I would sign Harrow. Harrow might be in a more 2-year deal or something like that, and that's what I would look for. But you know what I mean? People are talking about this sign and trade stuff. I wouldn't. I want Lowry on the books, like I said, so he's off it next year, and I could decide what I want to sign him or not. At least I'm in the play where I have more options. But like I said, you sign a scorer. If you sign a scorer, you Ibaka the 5, get Harrow or another backup big who's versatile. Even if it has to be Boucher now, he upgrades. Then I do that. You know what I'm saying? And then that's what we move with. Now, if I'm not able to sign a scorer, like I said, then I will go of the route of I sign Cousins. I have to. If I don't get a score, I sign Cousins. I sign Van Fleet. Van Fleet gets his multi-year deal. And regardless, the books will still be freed up because I will sign Ibaka for a 1-year deal. I would sign Cousins for a 1-year deal. And I would sign, who else would I sign? Sorry, Lowry also has his 1-year deal. So I could afford signing Van Fleet for a multi-year deal because those guys are off the books next year. And now we could still go for free agents. I would still try and give a more limited bag to Van Fleet, not the full bag. But, you know what I mean? If he wants it, then I probably might have to do that. And then just, again, sign Cousins and them to a 1-year deal. You get what I'm saying? Anyways, I know there's obviously people thinking we should go for Oladipo. Remember, these guys are under contract, so you have to trade for them. All right? So going for Oladipo, going for, they said like the Clippers trying to do a sign and trade with Harrow and all this type of stuff. Like for me, I'm reluctant right now to actually go for a trade because again, I have to lose. I have to lose things in order to get that trade. So unless it's an ideal trade when what I lose and what I gain still doesn't hinder me on the books wise in terms of next year, and I could still keep the same type of, like I'm still the same type of team basically core wise and all that type of stuff for next year, then maybe I do it. But I don't kind of really see, like, especially for the names that people are saying they're trying to trade for, like Harrow, do a sign and trade and all, and then like Oladipo and stuff like that. Like that's where like you're actually like you would have like they're taking a lot for that. Like you have to get, like, you know what I mean? Like you're giving up something, especially when you're in a situation as free agency where you don't really have much on your roster anyways. Why am I doing a trade? I only would do a trade if I have a lot on my roster or I'm trading a big name to get a lot back to have on my roster. You're not trading Pascal, right? You're not trading, only one you would make me trade is Lowry, but your main guy, you're not trading. So Lowry, you're not going to trade Lowry and get Bear for Lowry. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, for me, if I'm trading just for a 1-2, most likely those 1-2 are going to be multi-year deals. Unless it's like lower tier guys and stuff like that. Like, for me, I don't know. I don't really like, the guys you're trading for are going to ask for more than what Lowry. Like, if I'm trading for Oladipo, they're not just going to get a Lowry and be good. Like, you know what I mean? They're going to get Lowry. Maybe this person, like, they're going to get crucial player or picks or whatever. Like, for me, I'm in a situation where if I'm the Raptors, I'm just looking to do free agency moves, solid free agency moves, and keep what I have intact. That way I could try and get over the hump, or at least keep my team in a position where even if we exit the exact same point, the exact same way, it's going to only be a positive when I now approach these guys in free agency, like a Kawhi come back, or, you know, or this person or that person. I can approach them with the same type of mentality, which is, we need you to get over the hump. If you just decimate the team and do all these extra moves and try and overthink it and try and be too smart to try and set up for this, you could throw this whole situation away. And then now you're just even worse than you were last year. And then you're going to be even worse because you don't get a free agent. And then now we're going to have to probably go through the lottery at some point and just blow this whole shit up. You don't have to blow this whole shit up. I used to always say that, but you don't have to blow this whole shit up. All you got to do is do the strategic little 1-2 moves that I named. And I promise you're in the exact same situation. You might not win. But you're going to go to the second round guaranteed. You know what I'm saying? And even if you don't go to the second round, you're still going to the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, I think you're going to go to the second round. The East is going to get better. You never know. But even if you don't go to the second round, you're still in a position that we've been contenders, because it would be an upset if you're upset in the first round. But we're in a position where we've been contenders, or we've been going to the playoffs every single year, whatever. We add you can advance the team. It's not like a blow up situation. So that's kind of my logic for the Raptors. That's kind of like my IQ, my breakdown of what the Raptors should do this offseason. Trades wise, I don't. If I am to see, like, let's say, oh, this trade is about to happen, or there's like an elite trade that they're looking at, I still do a video and break it down. But just going off of what we see right now in the landscape and stuff like that, I'm not too really, fond of doing the trades or whatever. I'm not too fond. And like I said, Gasol and Van Vliet, or if you can't do X, Y, and Z, then you have to resort to keeping them. And if you keep the exact same team, then at worst, keep the exact same team and try again. That way, at least it's a benefit for the next year when it comes to free agency. Because if you actually have a bad year and you go too far down and you remove it, it's going to affect you for free agency. I'm showing you. This was the difference between the Knicks and the Nets. You know what I'm saying? This is exactly, it affects. It affects winning culture, all that. Whether you get to the promised land or not, you're fighting and you always look like you're always there, at least in the mix, is going to only benefit you. For those caliber of guys. They look at the bag and winning. That's what they look at. You know what I'm saying? Especially nowadays. The market doesn't necessarily matter as much as it used to. So anyways, that's my IQ, because that's what I do. I know this is a long video. I apologize, but this is a long-awaited video. You know what I'm saying? That a lot of y'all have been waiting for, for a minute. I honestly just was waiting because I was feeling like someone's going to do something. I didn't want to do a video and it's like the next day something happens or whatever the case is. I wanted to wait, obviously, till the finals was done. That's why it's long awaited. The finals been done for maybe like a week or so now, or 2 weeks, whatever. The finals is done now. It's time to get into like the free agency videos and the offseason and all that type of stuff. We still don't know when exactly the season's coming back. There has been news lately, I think it was yesterday, that they said that the season most likely, because of coronavirus, they might not be able to ever have like fans to that level. So the point of them waiting makes no sense. They might as well just start the season close to Christmas Day or upcoming. That way they get more money back that way. And, it makes more sense. That way you don't condense the season. And then it's like, or you force the season to these amount of games and then whatever. That way you're just more likely to end the season back at where it's supposed to end and restart the next season back and get stuff back to actually regular scheduled programming. You know what I'm saying? That way, the earlier you start it, the better, you have that chance of doing that. So that's what they're looking at. They're saying they're getting, obviously it's not fully out there, but they're saying they might start the season, I think December 22, a little bit before December, Christmas, and then they go from there. And we'll see. Again, some type of fans, I think they should get, some type of fans. I don't know. Obviously, coronavirus, there's, all these issues and whatever, but like some type of fans would be elite, but it's just hard, you know what I mean? But I'm going to follow that closely. And, we'll obviously be, talking about news and talking about, again, we still have other teams to talk about. We have coaching, adjustments and changes that we have to talk about. There's a lot of things we got to talk about. So I'll be doing videos. Just remember, stay tuned. Click, share, like, and subscribe. You know what I mean? Sorry. Click subscribe, share, like, and subscribe. You feel me? Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. Once you do, click on it. Remember, click the notification bell so you can get that notification when I'm here, because I'm here. You feel me? My goodness. I still will try and do throwback breakdowns as well for throwback games. I'm going to definitely do a video on this MJ versus Bron GOAT debate that everybody wants to talk about. And I'm just going to have to silence it once and for all. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, you already know it's True Talks, because True Talks. And I'm out, man.